I was born in one country, raised in another. My father was born in another country altogether. He fathered several children with numerous women. My father showed no interest in me and abandoned me. Although my father deserted me and my mother raised me, I later wrote a book idolizing my father, not my mother. Later in life, questions arose about my real name. My birth records were sketchy. No one was able to produce a legitimate, reliable birth certificate. I grew up practicing one faith, but converted to Christianity as it was widely accepted in my new country. But I practiced non-traditional beliefs and didn't follow Christianity except in the public eye under scrutiny. I wrote a book about my struggles growing up. It was clear to those who read my memoirs that I had difficulties accepting that my father abandoned me as a child. I became active in local politics in my 30s. Then, with help behind the scenes, I burst onto the scene as a candidate for national office in my 40s. They said I had a golden tongue and could talk to anyone into anything. I was called a charismatic speaker. I had a virtually non-existent resume, little work history, and no experience in leading a single organization. I drew incredibly large crowds during my public appearances. This bolstered my ego. At first, my political campaign focused on my country's foreign policy. I was very critical of my country in the last war and seized every opportunity to bash my country. But what launched my rise to national prominence were my views on the country's economy. I pretended to have a really good plan on how we could do better, and every poor person would be fed and housed for free. I knew which group was responsible for getting us into this mess. It was the free market, banks, and corporations. I decided to start making citizens hate them, and they became envious of others who did well. I called mine a people's campaign and used forward as a slogan. I was the surprise candidate because I emerged from outside the traditional path of politics and was able to gain widespread popular support. I knew that if I merely offered the people hope, together we could change our country and the world. So I started to make my speeches sound like they were on behalf of the downtrodden, the poor, ignorant, to include persecuted minorities. My true views were not widely known, and I kept them unknown until after I became the nation's leader. I had to carefully guard reality, as anybody could have easily found out what I really believed if they had simply read and understood my writings and examined the people that I associated with. I'm glad they didn't. And then I became the most powerful man in the world. And then the world learned the truth. I am Adolf Hitler.